didn't want to go back and do it again. Well, welcome everyone. I want to thank those of you that have joined us tonight and those of you that will be joining us as we go through the evening, or if you might be joining this as a recording, our replay. We are one of the, I would say we are some lucky people here in Kansas City that we all have homes. We're not worrying about, well, right now in Kansas City, we're not worrying about flooding, and we're not worrying about tornadoes and hurricanes, and we're not worried about getting bombed or chased around. So I say we're very lucky here. So we have a wealth of housing. We may not have enough according to everybody. We have a severe shortage of housing, but I know we're a lot better off than a lot of other people. And it was, what was it? About this time last week, I got an email here at Mid-America Association of Real Estate Investors. Kasey Featherston with Catholic Charities reached out, and that's not Kathy, it's Kasey, isn't it? Kasey Featherston with Catholic Charities emailed me, and she said, based on what we're seeing in the news, that they were expecting an influx of refugees coming to Kansas City from Afghanistan. They're already helping refugees, and they have been helping refugees for quite a while. And between her organization at Catholic Charities, Jewish Vocational Services, Della, and I know there's a few other organizations that resettle refugees from other countries, they are expecting a huge demand for and need for more housing. And she asked if any of our members or anyone that we're connected to might have an interest in either making donations of cash or anything they might need, because I'm going to say they probably are going to need furniture, clothing, pots, pans, the whole 9 yards to put a house together. They're going to need housing, and they are accepting that as donations, or they are, with the cash donations, being able to help pay the rent and the utilities for the refugees. So I'm not going to steal Kasey's thunder. I am going to turn it over to her and let her share her screen, which she already has, and she can tell you what they've got going on with the 3 different programs they're working with, how they work and everything. And please, if you haven't been to a Mary meeting, I know a lot of you are not necessarily members of our organization. As we go through, and have questions, please put them in the chat, and I will make sure they get asked. If I can't quite figure out what you're asking, I will ask you to unmute and tell us what you're asking. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kasey, and then I'm going to let you introduce our other guest.
Thank you, Kim. I just really appreciate how responsive you've been. I know, like, I think I sent you an email on Wednesday night, and by Thursday morning, you were ready to connect and figure out how we could work through this together. I really am happy to have the opportunity to speak to a group of, people who are, landlords, but also have an interest in supporting people on a humanitarian basis. Tonight, I'm joined by Hilary Singer. She's in the middle of my screen, at least. She's the executive director at JBS, and Danilo Aguilar, who's the resettlement director over at Della Services. My name is Kasey Featherston. I'm the resettlement director at Catholic Charities. And I've been doing resettlement for about 7 years in a variety of capacities, and just really like having the opportunity to speak to new folks about what we do and how they can get engaged in this work. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I'll hand it over to Hilary to let her introduce herself, and then Danilo.
Great, yeah, I'm Hilary Singer. I'm Executive Director of Jewish Vocational Service. Like my colleagues here, we are a refugee resettlement agency. We're on the Missouri side of the state line, and as we'll probably talk about a little bit later, that makes a difference a little bit in the way that we do our work, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk with you all this evening. So thanks for allowing us to join.
And Danilo, if you want to, introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kasey, for inviting us here. My name is Danilo Aguilar. I represent Della Community Services. We are the other agency here in KCMO, and we've been resettling refugees since 2014. But we certainly appreciate all the attention and really all the eagerness and compassion being expressed during this crisis. So thank you very much for being here during this time.
Yeah, so I thought maybe we could just start off. I'll do a few slides just to talk about refugee resettlement and then kind of open it up, because really we want to know what questions you all have and how we can, answer those and hopefully open the doors to resettling folks with you all. And just, yeah, any questions, concerns you might have, we really want to be responsive to that and know more about what you all do. So I'll just go ahead, and Hilary, Danilo, if you guys want to jump in or chime in at any point, just go ahead and do that. But we did not have the opportunity to prepare this presentation as a group, but we'll work through it together. So yeah, so just to start off, I know some folks are maybe well versed in refugee work and some are new to it. So I wanted to just kind of lay down some just basic understanding for everyone to get on the same page. But we always like to just start with who is a refugee. So refugees and asylees leave their countries because of war or persecution due to their nationality, race, religion, political opinion, or membership in a group. So I think I saw a question pop up right from the get-go asking if these are American citizens, and no, they are not. They're folks escaping persecution in their home country or war in many cases in their home country. Oftentimes, they have to escape to a secondary country where they are able to go through a variety of processes to determine whether or not they have refugee status, and then going forward, whether or not they are eligible for resettlement in a third country like the United States, Canada, Australia, England. There are a variety of countries around the world that accept refugees. And we'll talk, I have a little bit to share on that process with you all, so you understand the screening and vetting that happens before folks make it to the United States. So probably I'll start off with some just kind of broad strokes about refugees in general, and then we can really dial into what's happening in Afghanistan and how that can impact, the landscape here. So this is just kind of a little visual guide for you all to kind of walk through the refugee resettlement process. So as you can see, number one, refugees flee their homeland, as we mentioned. They may go to a bordering country. They may be leaving on foot in the middle of the night, walking many, many miles to a bordering country where they can register as a refugee. There's a number of hoops to jump through to determine whether or not they actually have a claim for refugee status. But once the UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees, approves them as a refugee, there are really three possible solutions for them currently, which is one, to wait it out and see if whatever persecution or whatever war is occurring in their country subsides and they're able to be repatriated to their home country. The second option is for them to just settle into that secondary country, perhaps, apply for asylum in that country. And then the third option is to resettle permanently in a third country. And only about 1% of refugees worldwide actually have that resettlement in a third country as an option. So it's really the most vulnerable people who there is no other option for them, to left. So once they go through the registration process, UNHCR is actually the agency that decides whether or not their case will be moved to the United States resettlement program. Refugees are not allowed, they don't get the option to just choose, I want to go to Canada or I want to go to the United States. Really, that referral comes from UNHCR or a US embassy. So that I think is often a misnomer out there in the world. So once they get pushed forward towards United States resettlement program, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of Homeland Security, and a variety of other interagencies do the vetting process. This process usually takes between 1.5 to 2 years just to go through the full vetting process to make sure people are who they say they are, that they're not going to, cause any issues once they come to the United States, and that they do have that credible claim. So it's a very thorough process. I think it's the most vetted immigration, status in the world, to be quite honest. It's a very difficult process to get through. And so once they've been approved, they go through a variety of medical examinations, just screening them for communicable diseases, making sure that those aren't brought to the United States. They're given cultural orientation classes to help prepare them for life in the United States. and then they are booked a ticket to the United States through the International Organization of Migration. And actually they take out a loan to pay for that flight, which they do repay. Once they've been in the United States for up to 6 months and they're employed, they'll start repaying that loan. So, and then once they're booked for travel, that's usually when our agencies get a notification. Usually between 2 and 4 weeks, we get a notification to prepare for their arrival. So it's a quick turnaround in terms of finding housing, getting them moved in, all the furniture they would need, and preparing for their arrival. Currently, we are getting a lot shorter notice, especially with some of these Afghan folks. We're getting 24 to 48 hours notification. So that's why the housing piece has become even more challenging than it had previously, because we have a very short turnaround to reach out to landlords and see if they have anything available. So that's been a real challenge for us. But one, we accept and are ready to, to work on it, which is, another reason we're meeting with you all tonight. And then once they arrive, we provide what's called reception and placement services. And agencies also have a lot of longer term case management programs that we can talk through. Yeah, I don't know, Hilary, Danilo, if there's anything you'd like to add there.
There's a question in the chat there. I don't know if we should answer that now. It says, are they authorized to work as soon as they get here? Yes, they are. They have employment authorization as soon as they arrive, which enables the agencies to find employment for them so they can, as quick as possible, get self-sufficiency.
Yep. Thank you.
And they're not yet US citizens. So they're coming here on a refugee visa, and then you place them, help them find a job, and then they work on becoming a citizen.
Yeah, so the pathway to citizenship is pretty well laid out for refugees. So first they come with refugee status. Within a year, they make an adjustment of status to get their permanent residency, so their green card, and then within 5 years, they're eligible for citizenship. And so a lot of we have programs to help people prepare for those. Obviously, we have English classes to help them learn English. But yes, they have a pathway to citizenship, but it just takes some time to get there. So just kind of overview unique challenges and strengths that come, I think, with a lot of our refugee clients and SIVs as well, special immigration visa holders, which are a lot of folks coming out of Afghanistan. I think some of the unique challenges is just understanding a new culture, understanding the community and the systems in the United States. Also, many folks have experienced, war and trauma. And so those are some challenges I think that, we try to address as soon as possible, but can be challenges that, people may experience for quite a few years. And then the strengths that people bring with them, I think, is this incredible resiliency. I think we see that we're lucky to get to work in this field because we're able to see people really overcome some really tough situations and are ready to get right to work, get their kids enrolled in school, and they really want to be just a contributing member of society. And we see people starting businesses and buying homes, really quickly after resettlement. So we see this resiliency piece play out time and time again. We see lots of folks bringing their skills and talents from their past careers. I see this a lot across the board, but particularly with folks coming out of Afghanistan who've had a lot of experience working with the US military, who have high skills training, a lot of folks that have worked with US NGOs and with US media companies, just having a lot of high skills and high education coming that way. We see strong work ethic and this drive to learn. I used to be a teacher in the cultural orientation classes, and my students were, very avid learners, ask great questions, and were excited about the opportunity to be in a classroom. Maybe they hadn't had that opportunity in their previous lives. And then this real desire to give back to the community. We had a farmer who was a New Roots farmer on one of our plots of land out here, and she'd been farming for a number of years. And once she kind of got on her feet, she actually started donating back to Catholic Charities food pantries because she really felt like, she had gotten so much through her resettlement experience that she really wanted to give back to the community that had welcomed her. So we do see that. And then this eagerness to contribute and provide for their families and community. So some strengths there.
One thing you mentioned on the phone when we talked last week is that you are also looking for help to find jobs for all of these folks. And with all the skills that they have, not all of them, but I would say a lot of them have high skills, as you're mentioning, they might be perfect to fit into some of the jobs that everybody out there has that they're trying to fill and have been trying to fill for a couple of years now. So I'm assuming you're going to have some people with building trade skills or office skills for like property management. That's a lot of our people are looking for help in those two areas.
Yeah, I think that's very likely. I think, we will have a large influx of folks coming into the country and into our communities that, have worked in these high skilled trades, but also, we imagine that the head of the household, at least, if not more folks, have pretty high level English because of their work with the US military overseas. So that's something that I think is unique about this group that we anticipate to see. So apologies to my colleagues for all the Catholic Charities branding, but these are my usual slides. So when we talk about when folks first arrive to the United States, there is this period in the first 90 days that we call the reception and placement program. And that's really what all folks coming through the resettlement program have access to. And so, we're there to pick them up at the airport. We go with them to their house and make sure they understand how to operate their house in a safe way and that they know how to use everything in there. We help them enroll in cash and food assistance until they're able to be employed. We help them get to healthcare screenings and set up medical appointments. Most folks are eligible, all folks are eligible for medical insurance. So they're able to address some of the healthcare needs that have gone unaddressed for quite a few years, especially folks coming out of refugee camps. Help their kids get enrolled in school, help them understand that travel loan that they took out, do a lot of cultural orientation, and we have a whole class just dedicated to housing and making sure that they understand how to communicate with their landlord, how to pay rent and utilities. If there's an issue, how to address it, what your landlord should do, what you should be doing, and basically understanding all the things that most Americans understand about renting a house. And then help them make sure they get their social security cards, and enroll them in English classes. And then we have all of our agencies have employment services to help make sure that they're able to be employed as quickly as possible. And to be honest, most folks are employed within 3 to 6 months after their arrival because they are really focused on that. And we have a wealth of employers in the community who are excited about hiring folks from the refugee community. So we've been lucky in that. Some other services, we do provide long-term case management, therapy services, youth mentoring, financial coaching, English classes, as I mentioned, cultural orientation. We have immigration clinics to help them with their adjustment of status and preparing them for citizenship classes. So that's just a really, really brief overview of kind of the resettlement process and what the services Catholic Charities, JVS, and Della Lamb provide. I'm open it up to Hilary and Danilo to share if they have any other, anything else they want to share about what their organizations do in terms of supporting clients.
So I think I'll just add a little bit in terms of, I think at JVS and at all of the resettlement agencies is that we really focus our attention on the first 30 to 90 days that folks are in the United States, and we provide pretty intensive services during that time to help people get up on their feet. And I would say the vast majority of folks become employed during the first 3 to 6 months in the United States and sort of get on with their lives. And we don't necessarily see them back at our agency, but we always are available, and some people need additional supports. And so we will provide services to folks who come here as refugees for as long as they need it. but I would say for the bulk of people, it's within that first 6 months and certainly within that first year that they find their way and become employed, and their kids, sign up for school, and they are off making their way in our city on their own.
One of the questions was, because you were talking about when you called that you were looking for donations of rental housing, but you are anticipating, and I've been reading a little bit on outside of this, that there are a lot of big corporations that are donating money for a fund somewhere to help resettle these. So I'm assuming you're getting some of that money so that you can do rental guarantees for a certain amount of time for the leases to help, guarantee that they'll be able to at least pay rent for 6 months to a year.
At this time, we have not received large donations in terms of securing 6 months rent and utilities. I think that is our goal, and we have people that are reaching out to us and want to learn more. I think, we're reaching out and trying to find all the different possibilities. So if there's landlords that are just willing to rent to folks, that's helpful. Obviously, with some of our refugee clients that we work with, we're able to help them at least maintain rent and utilities for the first 3 to 6 months. For some of these newer folks that are going to be coming out of Afghanistan, they're not going to be eligible for cash assistance. So those are the folks that we're hoping to get housing sponsors for, because I think the rent and utilities is going to be a difficult piece until their employment authorization cards come in the mail, which usually take between 1 and 2 months. So, we are actively looking for housing sponsors to help us to take on, a family if you're not sure if they're going to be able to pay the rent. But we're also, hoping that there are maybe some people who have some flexibility in their finances and maybe could donate a rental unit as an in-kind donation, and we'd be happy to help them with any paperwork so that they could, file that as a tax write-off. So I think, we're looking for a lot of different options for folks and hoping to engage people in a variety of ways.
One of the articles I read was that Airbnb was not only donating, I think they said 20,000 nights, or I don't know, they were donating so many units for so many nights for so many people, but they were also donating a large chunk of money to somewhere. And I'm assuming that they also listed other big corporate sponsors. So there might be money coming to help you guys from somewhere, but I don't know who that charity is that's pulling the money in. But these are big corporate sponsors looking for, I'm sure it's all tax write-offs for them. But I'm hoping you'll have money coming in from there. The other question that had been asked this week was, is the lease with the renter or is it with you? And you said it is with the renter, but you would have a guarantee on some of them, and of course some of them you wouldn't. So
yeah, I think we don't usually sign leases for clients. That's not a practice of most resettlement agencies. I think generally, yeah, it's just with the renter, and often, there are funds available to cover 3 to 6 months of rent. It's not guaranteed by the agency, but we're often able to support that. And I think, we can talk through that on a more case-by-case basis. We can't just blanket say that probably for every client, but I think that's very possible that we would have funds available to do that. And just to talk, Kim, about your earlier point, we have heard that, the federal government is looking for corporate sponsors to help solve some of these challenges in terms of housing and healthcare and a variety of others. So we are very hopeful that the private corporations and private companies will sort of support a lot of these efforts. And that's the goal that I've heard. Yeah.
one question is, are there any government funds that coming, or is the government busy spending money on everything else but not resettling the refugees yet?
I think I've been really encouraged by what I've heard coming out of a lot of the national offices, and maybe Hilary and Danilo can speak to this more, but I've heard that the highest levels of government are really, really trying to problem solve a lot of these issues that we anticipate. and that there's a lot of collaboration happening between a lot of different components of the federal government. And so we're feeling really hopeful and positive that there will be a solution. I think, right now our goal is really to just get out in front of people and let them know that these things are going to be coming down the pipe, and that hopefully we can set up some partnerships ahead of it so that, we're just ready when everybody starts to arrive. But Hilary, yeah, feel free to add on there.
Yeah, I think I'll just add that we do receive some funds from the federal government for everybody that comes in. There's a per capita amount. It's about $1,000 a person. And that is intended to cover anything that person might need for their first 3 months in the United States. So as you can imagine, that doesn't go particularly far when you're thinking about rent, utilities, clothing, food, transportation, medical coverage, all of the things that one would need to spend money on. And so I think this is a partnership, right? It's a partnership between the government, which provides some sort of foundation for the program, and community organizations like the ones that are on the call here, and partners out in the community who can all sort of join together to make something that works for our new neighbors that are coming here. I have heard a few things. I think folks are in the federal government are working hard to try and figure something out, particularly for the larger numbers of Afghans that are coming into the United States, or will be coming into the United States at this particular point in time. I think there's a bill that's been introduced called the Afghan Housing Support Bill, something like that, that might work to provide some rental assistance that may come down further along the line. And so I think one of the things that we're trying to do is build these relationships and identify partners who are interested in working with us in providing homes for people who are just coming here. And there are lots of opportunities, both now and potentially in the future, for different ways that might end up.
Another question, and this was something I had thought about, are you looking for partners that might sponsor a family in their own home? So, if they've got room and the extra space to bring in a whole family, would that be an option, just hosting them within their own home?
So I'll say it's not our first choice. I think for a number of reasons, right? These are families who have been forced to flee their home under fear for their lives. So they're coming with, their mom, dad, kids. They've experienced a lot of trauma. And I think being able to, if we can, start them off in a home of their own, so they feel settled, so they feel like they can really begin their new lives and not be in a transitional space yet again, I think would be our first priority. I think one of the things to keep in mind, and I think there was a question in the chat a little bit about, are they coming here in that same process that Kasey described? And I think the bulk of the people who are going to end up in the United States are not yet here. They have been evacuated from Afghanistan. They have found safety in a secondary country, and they will remain in that secondary country on an army base in a transitional sort of spot until they can be vetted and all of the procedures go in. So by the time they actually make it to the United States, we want to be able to welcome them home and let them get started on the business of living their lives.
And then Frederick is asking, and I think you mentioned that what he's found in similar cases is to have someone available that's a point of contact for the landlord at your organization, like the caseworker. I think you both said you have like the caseworker or manager that helps the family, that would be the point of contact. So if they needed help or the landlord needed help, they would contact you if they can't work it out with the family.
But that's currently, we work with landlords. Our case managers often work as a bridge, especially in that first 90 days. I feel like that's when there's a lot of support in terms of housing, especially the case manager will make multiple house home visits with them to make sure that they really feel comfortable in their home, and follow up with landlords if there's, any challenges between, of them understanding, or if there's any communication challenges. I think the longer the family is in that home, the more they're able to navigate those scenarios on their own. But yes, of course, like Catholic Charity, a lot of our programs are for up to 5 years. And so even if a client is not assigned to a specific case manager, we offer walk-in or we right now during COVID, we have a hotline. So that case managers are monitoring and following up and supporting clients in whatever challenges they're facing, whether that be, with healthcare systems or with their landlord. There's always somebody there to help provide support.
Okay. And if any of our members or anyone else that come along is interested, what is the best way for them to get in touch with each of your organizations? Or is there like just one point of contact and you share?
Yeah, I think we probably each have our own point of contact. And I think, Della Lamb and JVS are on the Missouri side. And so they're going to be housing people on the Missouri side, and our Catholic Charities is on the Kansas side. So all of our clients have to live on the Kansas side. There's a lot of paperwork and rigmarole if we end up housing on the other sides of state lines. So we try to stay away from that and just share resources as we can. So yeah, I'm happy to put my contact information in the chat box, and perhaps they will as well.
I have it here. I'm just going to copy and paste it all at once.
Great.
I just don't have emails for everybody, but I have phone numbers for everybody. So
Okay.
At Della Lamb, we've created a email for folks that are interested in helping. So it's help@dellalamb.org. So I'll write that there in the comments in the chat as well.
help@dellalamb.org. Let me write that down.
Yeah, I think we've all created inboxes because we've been getting an incredible amount of support, and it going to your personal inbox is sort of overwhelming. So yeah, we have a lot of folks helping us out managing all the interested parties, which has been really wonderful.
Okay, have we made it through all the questions? I think we have. I have this recorded. I'm going to make sure that everybody that registered, I think there's like 40 people registered, so they're not all here tonight. So I'll make sure they get the replay, and then I'm going to get this up on our YouTube page and on our website so that future people that find out about it can watch. And you're welcome to share any of this if you need a recording, although I'm sure you can make one on your own Zoom channel as well. So, but I will make sure and share this out with our organizations, and hopefully we will be able to get you a few, we can all work together to house some people and help each other out in many ways.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Kim. We really appreciate you making this forum, open to all of us. And we look forward to partnering with some or all of you in the days to come. And if you ever have any more questions, we can share with you like contracts that we generally sign MOUs with our landlords, and there's we can share like the support that we provide clients if you're interested in seeing some more documentation around having a partnership, and also if you're just looking for staff, we're happy to connect you with our employment offices because they would love to have some new employment partners. So
I know for the past about 5 years, everybody is always, I'm hiring. Who do you know that knows how to do this? I'm hiring. And like, I don't know. Everybody I know that wants a job has a job. Mm-hmm. So we're always looking for staff. Well, cool. Thanks for reaching out to us. And I want to thank everybody that joined us on really short notice. I didn't really have a long lead time to get a lot of people signed up, but I know you needed to start reaching out to the community sooner rather than later, because the day after you emailed me and we talked, the news said that on one of the news channels said you were expecting people here within 3 weeks. So I said, well, we better do this quickly.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I will see all the Mary members that are joining me in the morning, but I'll see you guys, I'm sure, in the future, because I'm sure we'll reach out and talk to each other again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Everyone.
Stop recording. And if anybody wants the chat, be